One part Logan's Run, one part RPG, one part Belle Epoque, all video game. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the game on everyone's lips lately, and for good reason. Developed by new studio Sandfall Interactive, we follow the story of Gustav and his fellow expeditioners, as they attempt to find and destroy the mysterious paintress. Painting Expedition 33 as a clone of the Final Fantasy series would be unfair. Its influences are vast, and its design original, but we couldn't help but notice plenty of similarities to our favourite franchise the longer we played. With that in mind, I'm Jack from EXP Required, and here are 7 ways that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is like Final Fantasy. Beware of spoilers across the board, and don't say I didn't warn you. Stepping onto the world map for the first time is a pivotal moment in any RPG, and Clair Obscur is no exception. Many modern games opt for a to-scale third-person approach, including the most recent Final Fantasy titles, with interactive maps and vast instanced areas taking over to accommodate ever larger worlds. A proper world map hasn't been around since the year 2000, at least in Final Fantasy's mainline titles. Sandfall Interactive opt for a best of both worlds approach. Of course there's a map to look at, but travelling from place to place is done on an impressionist-style world. Much like the worlds of Final Fantasies 1 through 9, landmarks are scaled down to better catch the eye. Or is the party scaled up? And offer players a chance to enter them in a more traditional sense. Each area we can enter feels larger than it looks, and there's plenty to keep us occupied in them, whether that be searching for treasure or fighting Nevrons. And if you feel like the main story is lacking in locations, there's always optional areas to discover. While we can't stay in this world forever, we don't want to leave, much like some of our other favourite worlds. Most of the world is blocked off to us at first, but we later gain the ability to sail the high seas and soar over the highest mountains, like every FF title before. It may not be an airship or a submarine, but who needs those when you have Esquier?
I'll meet you outside!
Dark hair, facial scar, some indeterminate connection to Ben Starr? You'd be a fool not to notice the similarities between Verso and FF8 Squall Leonhardt, but the likeness is more than skin deep. An orphan in the post-war world, Squall spends a great deal of time refusing to even try to connect with his companions. Having been abandoned by his sis and never really recovering from the emotional wound, he grows up determined to rely on only himself. But despite his best efforts, his friends help him grow into a competent, if awkward at times, leader. Verso is similarly cold. Burying expedition after failed expedition has left an indelible mark on him, and wandering the world alone has caused him to close off emotionally. The party does their best to warm his cold heart, and there's even an option to romance one or two fellow expeditioners, though neither relationship ultimately changes the game's outcome. Unlike Squall, however, Verso is ultimately unable to bridge the gap between his desires and his duty. No doubt this is in part the fault of his well-meaning but manipulative parents, whose presence alone greatly changes how Verso sees the world. We're struck by the parallels of the fallen expeditions and the seed at the foot of Ultimecia Castle in particular. It's easy to imagine Squall remaining emotionally stunted in a world where endless tragedy colours the canvas. Ultimately, both men are fully capable of facing the future despite the past weighing them down, and I'm sure hitting things in quick succession with a cool sword helps too. It's no secret that Final Fantasy X is a huge inspiration to the world of Clair Obscur, and that influence is felt keenly as we travel this new world. Both Spira and Lumiere are haunted by Cullings, whether that be through the ravages of sin or the yearly Gamage, and both games take great pains to show how the world itself has grown from these events through its characters. Progression comes with constant reminders of those that came before us. 40 prior expeditions have left journals for us to find along the way, just as Jecht left 10 spheres detailing the journey of his pilgrimage, with 2 of them meant to be delivered to Leeds Tidus and Yuna. It's these well-trodden paths we follow in both cases, with the same goal, but hopefully not the same end. Faced with previously unbeatable odds, neither party allows themselves to give in to despair. When told what is needed to facilitate a calm, Yuna and her guardians refuse to take part in the final summoning and rid the world of the option. Meanwhile, the Axons are unbeatable threats until we come along. The message of both games is clear: only by trying something new will we ever get a different outcome. And in true RPG fashion, our real strength comes from our friends, and whatever abilities we picked up along the way, of course. Our fate truly is in our hands. How will you shape your story? While the main story is deeply thought-provoking, Clair Obscur isn't afraid to be seriously silly at times. The world is littered with gestrels, wooden creatures with brushes atop their heads, who don't look out of place in this world for a second despite their comical countenance. Of all the Final Fantasy games, arguably the title filled with the most memorable creatures is 5. From the very beginning, we're accompanied by a lovable chocobo, we're helped by dragons of both air and sea, and oh yeah, a long-lived, sharp-witted turtle is the world's foremost sage. Expedition 33 also features a turtle, except this time he's not as helpful.
Now get off my lawn!
Though not the first title to feature chocobo forests, FF5s are the first to lead players to optional locations, home to legendary summons Phoenix and Bahamut. While the rewards from the similarly optional gestural beaches aren't quite as explosive, they at least give us the chance to take part in the ultimate challenge, Beach Volleyball. Wait, that's the wrong game. Beach Volleyball. Let us know how many times it took you to win in the comments. Later on, we also meet another curious but charming race, the Grandis, one of whom has taken up the finer things in life. Like the gestural merchants, it also offers outfits, but only for the ladies, and only once you indulge its request for a little back and forth. One thing's for certain, whether they're wee or whether they're woo, we can't imagine this world without such wonderful creatures. If there's any game that matches Clair Obscur's tone, it's Final Fantasy VI, specifically after its world is changed forever. Expedition 33's world is ruined from the very outset. An event known only as the Fracture has left it desolate, with a countdown to certain doom hanging over the head of everyone that lives there. Our lead Gustav heads Expedition 33 to the Paintress in the newest attempt to put a stop to the yearly Gamage. Unfortunately, his quest is cut short after leaving Lumiere. The team is annihilated, and Gustav is left alone to carry on. If this wasn't enough to convince you of the cruelty of the continent, traversing the blood-drenched spring meadows should change your mind. But it's here we reunite with Lune, whose presence offers us some measure of relief. The entire sequence mirrors Celes walking on the solitary island, where she learns about the state of the world after being comatose for a year. The sunset-shaded overworld and frail monsters are enough of an indication that everything has changed for the worse, and failing to adequately care for Cid pushes her to the brink of despair. Only when the parties are fully reformed does it feel like we're capable of carrying on. Neither situation is taken lightly, and in both cases, help comes from other people, not within. Final Fantasy is keen on emphasizing the importance of asking your friends for help, and we're delighted to see Expedition 33 reinforce that idea compassionately. I'm certainly not the only person that's been celebrating the return to true turn-based combat in Expedition 33. Absent from Final Fantasy since 10, it's been revived with love by Sandfall Interactive, who've gone so far as to display the turn order on the screen, a clear homage to one of the greatest games of the 2000s. Here the CTB system has evolved beyond its implementation in FF10. While both games' parties have classes, only Yuna and her guardians are able to move away from their starting roles if you so choose via the sphere grid. In Expedition 33, characters are locked to particular classes, though it's easy to imagine them as classic Final Fantasy jobs. Monoko's clearly a blue mage, able to absorb enemy abilities. Gustav has an engineer's background to go with his machinist weapon, and while Lune is unmistakably a red mage, she's had to settle for a beret instead of a bicocket. Base rolls can of course be heavily augmented by Pictos, items that range in use from increasing damage to applying health-based buffs. With the right setup, dodging and parrying increases AP generation, letting you use more skills with their own effects as the battle goes on. The real-time dodging mechanic is a step away from completely copying FF10's homework, and while it doesn't feel like a straight progression of the CTB system, it's a great addition that demands focus to perfect. No button mashing your way through this game, time your moves right and you'll be returning damage tenfold. The only question now is which feels more fun to use, gradient attacks or limit breaks? Final Fantasy's no stranger to the idea of linked battles, where taking part in one battle will make a later fight easier. Most infamous is the notorious monster Absolute Virtue, found in FF11, requiring players to defeat multiple monsters prior to stand a chance of claiming a win. But not everyone has played 11, and less know of the monster's presence, unlike FF9's Ozma, which has been terrorizing gamers for even longer. A secret superboss with devastating attacks, Ozma is out of reach in battle, literally, until players complete the friendly monster's side quest. give them what they ask for, and eventually they'll reward you with the power to land physical attacks and letting shadow damage hurt instead of heal. Perfect for every Doomsday cast. Unlike these otherworldly foes, the Axons of Expedition 33 are as ominous as they come. Powerful creatures that protect the Paintress and the expedition's first major obstacle. Upon reaching Visage, you're met by one that suggests you take the time to explore instead of rushing into battle, the first time any enemy has ever been so kind as to warn us in advance. The side paths lead you to the Masks of Anger, Joy and Sadness, who will aid the Mask Keeper against you in the inevitable battle. Spend time deciphering their riddles, however, and they'll abandon their master, making an otherwise nigh impossible battle much easier to manage. Of course, players wanting a challenge are welcome to try these fights unassisted, but we think the clear message here is that not rushing forward into dangerous situations will help you in the long run. Also, be nice to animals, yeah? So that was it for our list of 7 reasons why Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is like Final Fantasy. Let us know any we missed in the comments. If you would like to hear more Final Fantasy discussion, we also have a podcast link below. Thanks for watching, and remember, tomorrow comes.